Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Okay, cool. Okay. He said what?
For the crowd right now. So we're gonna listen to a little Christmas lo-fi.
Okay.
As we kind of get this stuff started. Sorry everybody, I'm getting the stream all set up for everybody. Obviously by the title of the stream you guys can tell that it is going to be a very long one, I will say. And we're going to talk probably about the two teams that I just mentioned in the title. That obviously being the LA Lakers and of course our Boston Celtics. Tyrese, we got to talk about another debacle performance from the Celtics and of course the Lakers as well. Without KD, without Kyrie, losing to Honey Buns Harden, it's looking pretty rough.
Yeah.
So before we get started, hopefully everyone is having a very Merry Christmas. If you celebrate, we here on the Charge want to make sure that you guys are spending time with your family, making sure that you're spending time with loved ones, and also spending time with things that you love. And basketball, obviously, Tyrese and I, that's one of our loves. And we're going to talk about it here today. And I thank Tyrese for coming on Christmas Day. I know it's a tough ask because I know it's a lot of family time that you could be having, but I do appreciate you coming on and talking some NBA basketball with me as we kind of proceed to give you what you need here on the Charge. How is your Christmas going so far, Tyrese? What you been up to?
Oh, well, it went pretty good. I mean, I just I just ate dinner not too long ago with my family, so it was pretty good today. Just
Okay.
chill.
Oh, I think we lost him for a second. Let's see here. He'll be coming back in just a second, guys. I think we just disconnected for a second. Ruin my accident with the ISO ball. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. Target on Nation. There's a lot to talk about in the Celtics game. I'm going to see where Tyrese just went. It seems like he just disappeared. I think he's just back now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, yep,
Okay,
I
cool.
got you.
I think it disconnected. Did you
Yeah,
hear
yeah.
what I said though?
You ate. You just had food. Anything else?
Yeah, I just chilled. Watched some games, basketball, football.
Yep.
What about yourself?
Just chilled today. You know, a lot of cooking, a lot of doing a little bit of scouting. For our next opponent for basketball. So I've been doing a little bit of that. But nevertheless, also watched some NBA, some NFL. A little disappointed right now in this Cardinals offense right now because I need Christian Kirk to do his thing. But nevertheless, let's get started, Tyrese. I mean, before we get started, I think we're going to talk about the Lakers first off, just because we talked about them yesterday and we got to talk about them again just because this game is fresh in my mind. Please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new. There's obviously a donation link if you are interested in donating to the channel. Again, this is not mandatory. This is optional. And there's also merchandise, as Tyrese can attest to his mug. There's also merchandise like that as well if you are interested in buying merchandise like a mug. But again, like I said, this is all optional. This is if you mess with the channel, if you support us like that. And it's there for you if you are willing to do so. But nevertheless, Tyrese, let's start off with the LA Lakers because I feel like this to me is the biggest one that we need to talk about, more so than anything else at the current moment. The Lakers have just lost to the Nets 122-115. I felt like this was LeBron James's virtuoso type of game where he is, balling at a completely different level than the other guys. He was doing everything he could to get this team to win, but ultimately just fell short as they lost to the Brooklyn Nets 122-115. And I think what made this game even more frustrating, I'd feel like for like a LeBron James or any of the Lakers, is that, this was a team that was facing another team without their top two superstars in Kevin Durant and also Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving having to do the protocol and all that stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when he's officially a part-time hooper, only playing in away games. So that's going to be interesting to kind of find out. But nevertheless, Tyrese, what were your initial reactions to this game? I mean, this to me was a must-win for the LA Lakers, and to kind of blow this game at the end is, well, I guess they never really had the lead. They only had the lead a couple times, but still, to kind of give away a game like this is pretty frustrating if you're a Laker fan or a Laker player.
Yeah, I didn't really get to see this game like that because I was eating dinner and spending time with my family. But I've seen they were gonna play the Nets today, and even without KD, I just knew the Lakers were gonna lose. I think the Lakers, like I said to you guys in the middle of this year, it looks very good on paper, but they just it's too many high egos with the Lakers.
Yeah.
LeBron, Russ, AD's out, but when he wasn't, it wasn't no different. So
Yeah.
I mean, they're just screwed, man. I think they have to get one. I think they have to get rid of Russell Westbrook as soon as possible, if they want to turn their season around and try to climb up in the seeds. But I think they also, have to get some guys who are experienced but not too old, if that makes sense. I feel like Rondo's kind of out of his prime, as we can say now. AD's injury prone, LeBron's injury prone, and kind of he's in his prime, but he's just not the same. And the other guys like Carmelo are just streaky guys. They need some guys who are kind of they get their points every night.
Yeah.
I already knew they were probably going to lose, and I just they're a really bad team. I'm surprised they're even 6th in the West right now. I don't even think they're going to make the playoffs, to be honest, if they keep this roster. Yeah. What do you think?
I mean, this to me is just another situation where I just feel like the Lakers again are defensively just inept of like keeping guys in front. I mean, they let a guy in Patty Mills go off for 34 points. I know the guy is one of the best shooters in the NBA, but at the same time, it's frustrating to continue to watch this team capitulate each and every time that goes down the court. I mean, I think that Horton Tucker is a great player, but I think a lot of Lakers fans overhyped him in the fact that they were thinking that he was going to be like the next kind of Caruso, next kind of guy that could like really step in and be a starter at an extreme level. Where I feel like Horton Tucker's specialty should be coming off the bench, being a guy that brings the energy like Caruso did when he was with the Lakers, and instead. I just feel like Horton Tucker just isn't able to get his offense going, and you can tell by tonight. I know he was 5 for 11, a little bit under 40%, but defensively was just a mess. And that's not just on him. I think it's the whole rotation of the LA Lakers itself. I just feel like there was a lot of miscommunications on switching, and miscommunications on defensive roles. Like, are they tagging the role? Are they, are they trying to blitz more in the coverage, or are they trying to be a little bit more methodical? And do a little bit more hedging. But nevertheless, Tyrese, I think the frustrating thing to me is that you have a guy in Russell Westbrook who played 37 minutes, gave you 4 of 20 for shooting, 0 of 3 from three-point land. Again, I'm not expecting him to be a great three-point shooter, but for Westbrook, I feel like he has to move the ball and get people going. But instead, again, another frustrating thing to look at for the Lakers is you do so well on the offensive end. I feel like this is the first time where you actually get the ball moving. Obviously, they missed a lot of threes tonight, and that's what kind of killed them compared to the other team in the Nets, shooting 43% compared to 28.6 for the Lakers. But still, at the end of the day, they got off enough threes for the Lakers, but at the end of the day, the guys that you rely on to make those 3-point shots aren't hitting those shots. Like Malik Monk, 3 of 7, Carmelo, 2 of 7, Stanley Johnson, 1 of 3. I thought Stanley Johnson actually played his butt off, and that's the reason why he was a +6 in the plus-minus category. But then you got a guy like Derek Collison, who, you signed in a 10-day contract because of all these COVID protocols, and he was just not able to do anything for you. And then there's a bunch of guys that are missing. Reeves, I think, is a great rookie for them. And maybe could fill in that, Energizer Bunny role. But it is frustrating to look at the Lakers and continue to kind of be frustrated with their defensive principles. But what I will say is that this is more so a credit to the Brooklyn Nets. In my opinion, I felt like they did a really good job. I think Patty Mills was hunting his shot. He was looking good.
Stagger.
And I think all the role players came to play in this game. I thought Claxton came up with a huge bucket at the end, kind of like a throw-in slam over LeBron James. I wouldn't count that as a dunk, but still a great play nonetheless. But I mean, what else did you think of the game, Tyrese?
I didn't really watch the game because, like I said, I was eating dinner with my family. But to go back to what you said, like as far as the other guys on the Lakers, a lot of these guys are out of rhythm, man. Like Malik Monk, I think he only probably suited up maybe 4 or 5 games for them since the season started.
Yeah,
seems like he's been on the DNP or out list for since the season started. Wayne Ellington, not a lot of minutes, even the beginning of the season. Horton Tucker, not really. I mean, he's these last 5 games, he's been getting a lot of a lot of more minutes. But other than that, I mean, there's these guys just don't have enough rhythm. Like Stanley Johnson, they just got for the 10-day contract, right? Derek Collinson. So and then they're doomed for failure, man. Like what my prediction was at the beginning of the season, man. Like it's gonna be even worse, I should say, as the season goes on, because we're only 34 games in for them. So I think they're gonna it's gonna be so bad to where they're just probably gonna rest LeBron and just shut him down and just try to figure out what they're gonna do next year once they get AD healthy, and maybe a team will probably maybe trade for him. But I think my prediction is the Lakers are just gonna do very bad with once we get to like the 50th or 60th game, and they're just gonna shut LeBron down.
I mean, my frustration more so in Tar Heel Nation. Let's talk about your question really quick. You said if the Lakers don't re-sign him, do you guys see LeBron James joining the Knicks or the Cavs or the Knicks this offseason?
Nah.
I think if anything, he goes back to Cleveland. But I think the Lakers are going to re-sign him. I don't think they're going to. I mean, they invested too much into him already. It'd be foolish of them to kind of give up on that investment just like that, unless you're getting rid of cleaning house with like Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook, especially Russell Westbrook. I just feel like this Russell Westbrook that we've gotten this season is the one from Washington and is not the one that was in Houston for a little bit, not the one that was in Oklahoma City Thunder. I think what I find fascinating is that Westbrook has been missing a lot of shots around the rim. These last couple games, and it's a little disheartening and a little concerning if I'm the Lakers because he's one of your top players. I mean, he is top 3 for your team. I mean, he's your third option, I'd feel like, but maybe they see him as a number 1 option at this point. But I will say what I do find frightening about this whole Westbrook situation is that I don't think that there's any suitors for Westbrook at this current moment with the way that he's playing. I don't think any team is going to look at that and be like, yeah, I don't think I really want Westbrook. Like, what team would want Westbrook at the current moment, Tyrese? Can you think of any team that would want Westbrook?
Hello? Yeah,
Hello?
sorry. What was that?
I was saying that, like, do you think any teams currently would want Westbrook? Like, to trade for him? I know that he's been in a lot of rumors, and, there's a lot of Rob Pelinka memes. It just seems like that's the direction, but what team would really want Westbrook at this current point?
That's what I was talking to my buddy earlier about is, if the Lakers did trade Russell Westbrook, like who would want his salary on their books? I mean, he's 33 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He's not even doing a lot for the Lakers in the bright light. So it's like, what could he do for your team?
Yeah.
The only dark horse team I can maybe see is the Lakers trading Russell Westbrook for Kyrie Irving, but Kyrie would have to get vaccinated. But in California, I don't think it's a requirement. So, he could be back with LeBron, AD, maybe get healthy. But that's the only team. Maybe I can see possibly a reunion with him, James, and KD. But any other team that's a real contender, I can't really see them trading and taking them on the books, I could see the Nets maybe trying to pull something like that from a business standpoint, and then they play together. It's a good storyline. The beef KD and Russell had, now it's squashed. That's the only team really I can see possibly trading for, trade Russell Westbrook. But,
yeah,
any other team, it's like, nah. You're basically just having him for a stash asset, but he's already 32, 33 years old. So it's like, the only team that'll possibly maybe want him is like the Kings or something. I mean, that's just trying to sell tickets.
Yeah, I mean, I'll play this little clip for everybody that's watching at home. Again, you could see the defensive lapse right there from Westbrook. Westbrook's on Patty Mills. No screen happened. Nothing whatsoever happened on the play where he should not have gotten to or stayed attached to Patty Mills. Because, I mean, basically at this point in the game, he's been shooting it lights out. So to me, this is unexcusable by Westbrook. Not really, going to his man, not getting there in time, and closing out way too late. I just feel like that's what the problem with the Lakers is, that because they're so old at the current point, with a lot of guys on 10-day contracts that are old, with the whole bench besides Horton Tucker being the youngest guy there, I just feel like they're not really doing a good enough job to really, I would say, get back in transition, get back on defense. The rotations are so off, and I think the frustrating part, and Shannon Sharp's tweet's up there. He got a triple-double, and I think he'll be happy with that. And that, to me, is a damn shame if that's really his kind of, I would say, mentality, is that like, oh, I got my triple-double, who cares about anything else? Because if I'm the Lakers, if I'm Rob Pelinka, I'm looking to trade him, but like we talked about earlier, Tyrese, it's like, what team would really want him? Maybe the Nets could trade for him, maybe the Philadelphia 76ers, but at the same time, if Westbrook isn't finishing around the rim like he is normally, like he was back in the day, why would anyone want Westbrook at this point? And I'm going to pull up Westbrook stats, and if you want to continue to talk, Tyrese, you are free to do so.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I agree, man. Like, I don't understand who. I don't really know who would want him, but if I had to take a wild guess, I would have to say it would be a low market team like the Timberwolves or the Sacramento Kings or maybe even the Clippers that could possibly trade for him. Um, I just can't see Russell Westbrook staying in LA for this remainder of the season. Because, like I said, it's either going to be Russell or AD, but they're not. Genie isn't going to get rid of AD because he won a chip with LeBron, and they kind of have chemistry. Yeah. They have championship chemistry, but Russell Westbrook is kind of the lone duck.
Yeah,
I think he's going to get shipped in February or sooner. I possibly even think sooner. They're going to probably start listening to offers. I wouldn't be shocked starting this week coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I just think they got to get rid of him. He's not the same. It seems like he's just trying to get his triple-double and promote his brand. Nothing wrong with that. But, when you're on a team with LeBron James, it's kind of like you got to perform and do that, You have to win games and do that. It's not just one way. That doesn't, that's not how LeBron operates or when you're on the team. So I think, they're going to have to ship him out. Like, whatever him and LeBron's bond had, yeah, they're still cool. It's just, you don't work with the team. That's it. No hard feelings, We're just trying to do what's best for our team to get back to where we were. We're still cool. We're still friends. But as far as you being the starting point guard who's making $35-40 million a year, we can't afford you anymore.
Yeah.
So, we're going to have to ship you out to Sacramento maybe for I don't know, Harrison Barnes and Darian Fox.
Yeah. I think the problem with that, though, is that I think if you're going to ship Westbrook, I think they're going to want the other stuff with him. Like, it's kind of like one of those things where it's like he's such a liability that they would literally just give up they would literally want everything from the Lakers. Like, if they were going to trade Westbrook, they would literally have to give up Westbrook with Horton Tucker, maybe even Melo, just to get rid of him.
You think so? I mean, he has a very high salary, so he's making north of $45 million. So when you take that into account,
but these other
the Kings owner, he's not caring about that. He just wants to get tickets and sell his jersey. They're not going to the playoffs or anything anytime soon. You have a lot of low market teams like the Timberwolves who are just trying to sell jerseys and get revenue as much as they can. So I don't think I understand what you're saying. Like, they might ask a lot more for Westbrook because they're a liability, because he is a liability, but there's a lot of low market teams to where they just don't give a crap, man. Like, they're just trying to fill the seats, get revenue, have fans buy the Westbrook jerseys in Sacramento or the Timberwolves or the Pelicans or something like that. That's all they're worried about, because no one wants to come there to begin with.
Yeah. I mean, I think what is frustrating, man, it's like, as a LeBron fan, it is frustrating to continue to watch his team struggle. Seems that the chemistry is not there. His help side defense, obviously, if his team's not trying, I'm assuming he's not trying either. Defensively, at least, in the help side stuff. But I think they're going to need to start communicating on defense. They're going to need to start picking it up in that aspect, because I just feel like without that communication on defense, without really being there to really help him out, I just feel like, to me, what I would find frustrating if I'm if I'm any of these teams, or like if I'm LeBron James, is like, you're putting your heart and soul out there, and then all of a sudden you just continue to get you continue to struggle, and to me that's not okay. But again, we'll see what happens, man. Like, I think that this is a wake-up call for LA Laker fans and also the LA Laker staff themselves, and trying to figure out what is the best move to make. Is it to trade Westbrook? Is it to trade AD? Is it to trade some of these other players? Or is it to finally go and make a move and grab someone that they need to kind of get to where they want to be at this point. And again, they were one of my finals contenders for this year. And the fact that at the same time, Westbrook has still not learned his lesson. Maybe not lesson, but he still hasn't learned his mistakes from previous years playing the way that he does. I just find frustrating and baffling. Especially because I feel like this is Westbrook's last chance in some regard in terms of like being viewed as like a top superstar player. Where I feel like as soon as he gets traded to another team, I just feel like that allure is going to be gone. Even if he gets triple doubles, even if he puts up the stats, I still think people are going to be like, well, that's kind of like your gimmick. That's all you really do. So let me know what you think, Tyrese. Nope, I guess he, nope. Hello?
Hello?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, yeah. I had a little bit of connection issue.
But yeah, as I was saying, I think this is the final year to kind of view Westbrook, in my opinion, as kind of like that superstar, that, that's getting all the All-Star votes, because I think he is just a gimmick at this point with just the triple-double. And I just don't think that that's really going to, carry weight and fluidity to whatever team he goes on to next, if he does get traded, or if he's continuing on with the LA Lakers. If I'm the LA Lakers, I'm concerned, man.
Yeah, but I agree. I agree with you what you said. They have to pick up their defense, man. But it's kind of like defense is all mental, man. It's like it's kind of showing like they don't really try, man. When you got LeBron all the way up the court and you got 4 guys behind, like that's kind of telling you, right? Like the body language. So I just think they gotta clean that roster. But I just think with so much going on right now with the Omicron variant, it's kind of like they need bodies right now. So many guys are out. So many guys could be out. It's kind of like risky to trade right now. If you're the Lakers for a player of magnitude of Russell Westbrook, right? Because you might get players in return and they both have COVID. Next thing you know, they're out 10 to 14 days.
Yeah.
So, and then you're still losing games or you're shorthanded or even worse. So I just think they're going to wait. This is going to be a very bad season for them. They're going to shut LeBron down probably within the 50th or 60th game. Once they know there's no way in hell they're going to be able to climb, to that. I think they still have the 10th seed that can still get into the playoffs, correct?
Yeah, 10th seed for the playing game.
So yeah, maybe they won't, but I mean, it could get very ugly from here, man. I mean, how many games have they lost already? 5, 6 in a row?
This is 4 in a row now.
Yeah, four in a row, 138. Even though it was a back-to-back, but no, they didn't play it back to. Wait, did they play back-to-back?
They played on the 23rd, and then
Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday, excuse me. Yeah, Thursday. So I mean, they knew this game was coming, but they just don't have enough juice, man. Like the Nets whooped them shorthandedly. I mean, the Lakers were shorthanded too, but I mean, come on, like, when you have LeBron James, your team is held to a higher standard.
Yeah,
if he can't get those guys in check to run up the floor to get in position, I don't think he can control them at all. Same as Frank Vogel, same with anybody. So I just think.
I think we lost him again. But, kind of going to his point, as we kind of move on to the Celtics topic in just a second, like he was talking about, like it is frustrating to see that this team has continuously not lived up to the expectations that they need to at the current point. And what I find frustrating the more so than anything at this time is, they really haven't had the role players play a huge part in their games. Carmelo Anthony's doing his stuff off the bench. Malik Monk's getting his 20 points. But Wayne Ellington's getting you nothing out there done on the court. Dwight Howard absolutely doing nothing for you on the court. Westbrook not doing anything on the court. LeBron James doing all he can. But at the same time, what is frustrating that I would say, if you are a Lakers fan, is that no one else is giving you that support. It seems like the coaching staff really shortened the rotation this game with only 4 or 5 guys playing off the bench, with guys like Isaiah Thomas and Rondo not really playing and DeAndre Jordan not playing. And that just kind of goes to show you like the lack of effort that DeAndre Jordan's giving you. Like if DeAndre Jordan's not really doing anything for you, that's just a wasted roster space that you could use for another player. So I think they got to look at trading some of these guys or kind of just, I would say, extra fluff, and they just need to get rid of some of that fluff to really bring in a guy that can do something off the bench. And Tyrese, I'm not sure. Are you back yet, or are you still? Oh, I think we lost him again. We keep losing him. So with that being said, let us know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think of this topic? The Lakers, again, losing to the Brooklyn Nets, 122-115. Is this a time to panic for Laker Nation? Are you concerned if you are a Lakers fan or a LeBron fan? Or if you're not, let us know in the comment section why you're not concerned about this team. Tell me why you're not concerned about the Lakers at this current point, if you are a Lakers fan or a LeBron fan. I would love to know your rationale and your comments and opinions in the comment section down below. So again, please remember to hit this like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Who do you think the Lakers can go after?
I don't think they can
really
go.
help them.
I don't think they can go after anyone unless they're willing to give up extra pieces and maybe go get Ben Simmons. Like, that's really it. But at the same time, your problem right now is just, being able
So
to.
is it more of a Ben Simmons or bust for you?
That's what it feels like to me. I just don't feel like this. To me, reminds me of that Cleveland Cavaliers team, like in what was that? The one that got like
18?
Yeah, so that got all those like extra pieces for Isaiah Thomas got traded to them, and then ended up being like not the Isaiah Thomas that they once had in Boston, so they got rid of him, and then they brought in Larry Nance Jr. and Rodney Hood, and those guys just didn't pan out the way that LeBron wanted to, and I just feel like that's kind of what this team reminds me of, where I think that they could do a much better job of getting pieces, but I think they're gonna have to wait until next offseason. But at the same time, LeBron James is getting another year older. He doesn't have many years left to like continue this like configuring of this roster. So I think Rob Pelinka is gonna have to pull off some magic and see if he can get maybe some bonus for Westbrook or something. Maybe Miles Turner.
I want us to get some bonus.
I know we do, but I just think that the Lakers, they need to do something, and if they are really committed to winning a championship, but they're really committed to finding pieces around LeBron James, I just think having like a solid offensive big man that can really get you a bucket when you don't have to run any offense and sets, and you can just kind of throw it down low, where Dwight Howard doesn't really give you that. He starts, Dwight Howard does, but as you can tell, he only plays 6 minutes in the game. He doesn't really do much. And really, they kind of played small ball with LeBron James at the center position. And again, LeBron James doesn't want to play 40 minutes a game. And the fact that Westbrook can't do it on his own and really carry the load offensively just kind of goes to show you that LeBron James needs to go on the court even longer. And when he's on the court a lot longer, he's going to get more tired. The defensive rotations are going to be so off because LeBron James is now going to have to play like this kind of safety hybrid position in the middle when he's playing center. So I don't really think that there's anybody that can really go after, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, the Ben Simmons thing makes sense, like how you were saying, just from a defensive perspective. But if you really let's just say if they do get Ben Simmons, right? Let's just say they trade Russell Westbrook for Ben Simmons and maybe, I don't know, another guy. That's not really going to move the needle for them because they're missing shooting. Like Ben Simmons is is a way more terrible shooter than Russell Westbrook. He makes Russell Westbrook look like he's Kawhi Leonard with his twos. So I just think the guys they have aren't just they're not committed to winning a championship. Like, I feel like some of these guys are burnt out. Some of these players they got never even been to the playoffs, like Malik Monk. Who else do they have on that damn team? They have a lot of guys there who've never been to the stage. Or, Dwight Howard's been there. Wayne Ellington hasn't been there. Carmelo hasn't been there in years. Stanley Johnson, Darian Collinson, Horton. Like, they need guys that are veterans that have been to playoff games, who's been in battles, who wants to win, who wants to play defense. Like, not just guys who are good college players at Kentucky or lottery picks. And you're just getting them to hope and pray they have a flash. Like, no, like it doesn't work like that. You have to defend, you have to score consistently, you have to move the ball. Like, I just think Genie isn't willing to she wants to go superstar now because they won the
Mm-hmm.
ring 2 years or a year
Yeah.
ago, and she's just hoping. She was hoping and praying Westbrook would be that third, so that way they
Yeah.
can get there and make a lot of money. But like I say, it looks good on paper, but when you got too many high egos and you got guys who've never been there, never been
Mm-hmm.
to the playoffs, it's probably tough. Like how we're seeing. So
Yeah. What's concerning to me is that also Kendrick Nunn has been, cleared from the COVID protocol. He's still injured. Like, it just seems like this kid has not been able to get in that kind of shine or that opportunity that a lot of people were hoping that he would get for the LA Lakers. Because really, I think he would add some dynamic to this team. I'm not saying that he's going to be the huge answer to everything, but he's a young player that can go up and down the court. And the fact that he hasn't really been able to return the court is really concerning. And I think there's a bigger injury concern that I think the Lakers are hiding.
Yeah, it could be that, but it also could be LeBron maybe just can't play with him because it seems like if LeBron says to Genie, I can't play with him on the court, or Rob Pelinka, whoever it is, like, I can't play with this guy. Like, try to trade him, right? So they're probably just going to have him on, DMP after he's even cleared because he's a talented player. When he was with the Heat, man, he can get them 14 consistently. And they hardly even played him. So I don't know I don't know what was up with the Heat not even playing him when he was cleared, but I mean, he certainly got more action there. But,
Yeah.
I just think, if LeBron says he can't play with Kendrick or, Russell
Mm-hmm.
Westbrook is his point guard who he has to play with, and he's not going to get a lot of playing time. Like, a lot of these guys who they have, they're all guys who were like Malik Monk, Stanley Johnson, who else? The guy we were just talking about, Kendrick Nunn. Like, these guys were great role players or, lottery picks. Seems like they
Mm-hmm.
were just getting guys who they were hoping would be great because of the lottery picks they were and how high they
Yeah.
got drafted. But it's not working out like that, man.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I think what we'll find out is like, what's really going on with Westbrook, or sorry, not Westbrook, with Kendrick Nunn, because I feel like that to me is like the biggest, like, what's going on with that whole situation. And then the other thing as well is just kind of like, what real moves can the Lakers make at this point? Because like you said, there's not really a lot of moves that they can make. And even if you do get a guy like Kendrick Nunn back in the lineup, get him back in the rotation, I still think that there's a lot of guys missing. And I'm really concerned for the Lakers at this point. Not due to the fact that I think that they are like in deep trouble, because I still think we're a little bit of ways away from that. But I do think it's concerning at the current moment with the way that Westbrook has been playing his games, and the fact that there's not been a consistency with Westbrook. There's not a consistency with Anthony Davis at this point of the season. Obviously, he got hurt, so that's going to take a little bit longer. I think he's out for at least a month, if I'm not mistaken. So that's going to be a huge one for the Lakers, a huge blow, and we'll see what happens, man. I think it's going to be a very interesting situation to kind of monitor as we kind of continue to look at the Lakers and what they need to do in order to get championship aspirations and everything like that. I did want to say, Tyrese, that they are going to, I think they're going to, what are they going to do? They're going to reduce the amount of time in quarantine, so I think they're going to go from 10 to 6 now. So I think that could potentially be helpful for the Lakers if that is true, that they're going to go from 10 days of quarantine to now 6, if you are in the health and safety.
Yeah, I mean, it could be from 10 to 6, but it also could be something very dangerous because if you're thinking this guy is cleared and he's good and he has he's everything comes back good.
Yeah.
And he's not ready, right?
Yeah.
And so, and to go back to what you were saying, how you think they're not screwed, I think they're in danger territory because I'm looking at their the standings right now, and like the Timberwolves are 1 game behind from them. The Spurs are only 2 games behind. The Blazers are only 3 games behind. The Kings are it's tough. Like the teams below are like no more than 4 games out or from them for the eighth spot. Not to mention the 10th spot now. So I think they really have to try to figure out something. Genie has to figure out something of, getting some pieces that could really move the needle. but it's kind of risky right now because of all the Omicron cases that are going
Yeah.
on. And so, you know, you might trade for two guys and they're out 10 days or 14 days
Hmm.
or a key player. So it's dangerous. But I just think they're going to wait this out. They're going to
Yeah.
go clean slate next year, summer, and it's going to look like a whole new Laker team. I think Russell will be gone. A lot of these guys like Monk will be traded. A lot of these guys I think are just trade pieces, to be honest.
I mean, I think they will be at the
Because
end of the day.
yeah, they are. They're good trade pieces though. But I think, you know, LeBron was thinking like, yeah, we're gonna be good. We got Russell Westbrook. You know, AD's back healthy. I'm LeBron. You know, and it doesn't work like that. Like teams get better. They get more chemistry together. You know,
Exactly.
like the Suns. Like people writing the Suns off, man. Like now look at them.
Hmm.
I knew they were going to be a 1 or 2 seed. They just had that chemistry. The coach, they love playing for the coach. They have defense. Like the Lakers don't have that.
Yeah. And speaking of another team that seems to not have any chemistry and no defense, we got to talk about. Unfortunately, we got to talk about our Boston Celtics, Tyrese. You know, they are in a little bit of a skid right now. I believe they won the last couple of days ago. But nevertheless, Tyrese, you know, the Celtics, you know, had a commanding 19-point lead at one point in this game, and then all of a sudden, the Celtics blew that lead, and Giannis went supernova. You know, Giannis had 36 points, so I'm not going to take any away from Giannis. But at the same time, I felt like we went away from what our game truly was at this point. And again, Tatum, really frustrating, and Brown frustrating as well with this sort of you go, I go ball at the end of the game. And to me, that's our biggest kind of downfall as the Celtics team is that we play so much team basketball the first couple of quarters, and then all of a sudden when it comes to the fourth quarter, you know, Tatum has to be hero ball, Brown has to be hero ball, and it just continues to lead to this whole frustrating thing that I'm noticing with the Boston Celtics at this point is that we're just not. I just don't know, man. I don't know what to say about the Celtics at this point, other than it's just frustrating to watch.
Yeah, we are. It was a very good game. We had them by the balls, man. You know, it comes down to like the Lakers defensively, giving up. You know, letting Giannis just walk to the hoop. You know, it's just I think we have to get rid of. I mean, Peyton Pritchard. Don't get me wrong; he played well. He's solid. Yeah, that's Danny's guy from Oregon. Blah blah blah. But I think we need some real like veteran guys like Kevin Love, Jared Allen. Maybe even trade for those two guys. Like we need some size, man. Size and shooting. Size with shooting. Like I feel like if we can get like Kevin Love and Jared Allen or Sabonis maybe and like somebody else, I think we'll be solid. But we're just lacking defense. Like we could score the basket.
Yeah.
It's just defensively. Like the Jays could score. It's just defensively down the stretch when you're in the trenches and you're tired, you're gassed, and they used all their energy in the first half. They got 20 at the half or 20 and 16 at the half. And, you know, it's the fourth quarter and the Bucks catch up. They have no defense in. They have no gas. We have no defensive players besides Rob Williams, and that's an issue. So I don't know what Brad's going to do, but I think it's time to hit up his home state of Indiana and call them up and see if Sabonis is available. I'm more interested in Sabonis than Turner, just because Turner, he does some foolish stuff sometimes, like shooting deep pass threes where he shouldn't be. I like Sabonis. He's a little bit more mature, seems more efficient player. You know, I would very much love him on our team. He would be well worth the money.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, too, I think, you know, when you're playing like Romeo Langford 26 minutes, you know, you're playing Hernan Gomez 16. Obviously, there's some COVID protocol stuff that really damaged our team. But at the same time, I do agree with you. You know, the Celtics team really, at the end of the day, is not the same one that I fell in love with at the beginning when they had all those guys with Tatum and Hayward. And I think what I find frustrating is that it just seems like they continue to find themselves in these situations where they should be a lot better than they are. They should be able to make those defensive stops. This kind of brings me back to that time in the bubble when they had the Miami Heat on the ropes in the first game, and then Tatum lets them off the hook with a bad shot. And at the end of the day, our defense is not particularly put together at this point. We're solid, but we're not the best defensive team. But Tatum just taking these like really bad jumpers at certain points. Marcus Smart, taking some bad jumpers. Jaylen Brown taking some bad jumpers. It just seems like there's no cohesion and no movement in the offense that really gets the other guys going. And there's a reason why like the points spread out pretty well between Tatum, Smart, and Brown. And then the other guys kind of get the scraps, which is how I would say NBA basketball works. But I will say that I am encouraged with Time Lord. I think Time Lord has kind of proven that he is like a guy to be reckoned with, and whether he is a trade piece or whether he is someone that continues to be part of our organization, I think that he's gonna do wonders for whatever team he stays on. The question is like you said, team defense is what we really struggle with, and if we can't keep guys in front, if we're not able to kind of play the defensive game that we need to in order to win championships, because like you said, we've been in so many close games with top teams, not just the Milwaukee Bucks, and we continue to fold each and every time, and that's what's frustrating to me as a Celtics fan, continuing to watch our team blow opportunities each and every time that we're on the court. And I could keep rambling on forever, Tyrese. So you cut me off when you need to. But I'm just frustrated at this point with the Celtics, man. It's tiring. Not even frustrating, just tiring.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, man. Like it's like, yeah, we got him. Like we're up 20. Then it's like, damn. It's like I kind of knew, man. Like when we were up so much and everything was going so right, I'm like, there's going to be a time in this game where it's going to totally flip on us and we're going to lose this game. And look what happened. Look what happened. I mean, we're just too small, man. Like it's common sense. Like, I don't know what Brad sees out there or whoever, if Danny is still like associated, even though he's in Utah now, but it's like evident, man. Like, we need size. Robert Williams is one good piece with size. Al Horford is okay, but he's injury prone and he's older now. Like, we need some guys like a Sabonis or Jared Allen. And I feel like if we can snag Jared Allen and Kevin Love, we could get to the finals.
I mean, I could see it, but at the same time, I think offensively is where I kind of want to have kind of hold the Doka or MA a little bit more accountable. Is that like we need to start moving the basketball, whether it is the first quarter or whether it's the fourth quarter. Like, we can't just have these ISO plays for Tatum, ISO plays for Brown, and we got to start playing team basketball. That's the reason why the Nets won and the Warriors won tonight. The ball is moving, and I feel like that's the biggest problem for the Celtics at the current point, is that the ball moves every time. One first quarter all the way to third quarter, but as soon as it gets tight in the fourth quarter, that's when we start kind of going off the rails. And now Tatum's like, all right, now I gotta play hero ball, now I gotta go do this. And to me, when I look at that, when I continue to look at the Celtics and really kind of get a sense of what team they are this season, I get disappointed, I get left frustrated. And I think we gave Romeo Langford a shot. Romeo Langford has been given many opportunities at this point now. And I think we have to realize that this kid, as much as I think that he is, a nice kid, he's just not the guy that we're looking for. And I know that he's averaging a lot more points out this season than previous years. But at the same time, 3-point wise, I just don't feel like we're not getting what we need. For a guy that was a top 15 pick, only getting 4.9 points, 3.3 rebounds, and 0.5 assists, and not really like, yes, he's a good defender, he's a good help side guy, but we also need the offense from him as well, and I just don't feel like he adds that value to us.
Let's be honest though, Bernie. We know why he got here is the Indiana connection. Like, let's just be real.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only reason why he made it onto the Celtics, because he played for Indiana, and he was a starter at Indiana. So, you know, other than that, like I say, man, Wick or whoever's making these calls, like, if you look at the patterns, man, like, it's either like he played at Indiana, he played at he's married to a superstar, or he has flashy handles, something that can, it's never about like a guy who can just go into a position and
Mm-hmm.
be good in a role. Like, it's always, it
Yeah.
seems like he's connected to something within the last 4 or 5 years, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, I just think the Jays could play together. I just think their styles aren't meant to win a championship together. I'm starting to realize that. They if you notice, Tatum, like, today's game, he was like, he would get past the ball, but he wouldn't even pass it. He would just try to bully his way to the cup, right? That's not movement. And then I also remember Ime Doka talking about he needs to play more bully ball. That's more ISO ball. I just I didn't bring too much stock into Ime. Like, I remember I told you this. Um, and I just think I think I don't know. I think Tatum's not meant to win. He needs another guy like a LeBron or something like that. Just because he's not a passer, man.
Yeah.
Like, and Jaylen Brown's not really a passer like that anymore, because he's the guy. He's one of the guys now. So it's not a lot of ball movement. It's not. We're not going to get a lot of ball movement. It doesn't. I don't give a damn if we go after Bradley Beal and we keep the Jays. It's going to be the same thing but worse. I think we have to break them up, honestly, because them working together, it's not like if you have KD and Stephen Curry, right? You have two guys basically the same damn position with the same type of game, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
mean,
what I was saying. Like, I think one of them are going to leave in free agency. I still hold to that if we don't trade them. But I just think, because if you notice, without Brown, I think it was with Utah, we almost beat Utah. And all the other games too, we were close to winning a lot of tough games without Brown. There was more ball movement, because when you don't have two guys who are dominant with the ball, it keeps the defensive guessing, right? Because they're not used to seeing this team with other players involved.
Yeah.
They and those guys don't have ball movement. Jason Tatum really can't cut like Klay Thompson, run around, cut to the basket, like Curry, cut to the basket, like Draymond, cut to the basket. They've never been those type of players. They're kind of more like scorers, like they're just one-way players. Jaylen Brown, to me, doesn't really have even defense like that anymore. He has okay defense, but not how he used to like 3 years ago when KD first, or second year KD, when he came to the Warriors. I remember when we played him, he was locking KD up, man. He's not doing that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I still think that the biggest issue is the point guard position, man. Like, this to me is the reason why I wanted to sign Lonzo Ball, and I'll continue to harp on that point, because that was the guy that we really needed for this roster. And the fact that the Celtics didn't make a single move to get that kid still frustrates me to this day, because I think you just need a guy that's able to, one, be like a really long, lanky point guard, be able to defend, but also be able to create offense for your other guys. Like, he'll move the ball, he'll get stuff going. He won't, put up the dazzling numbers, but he gets the offense going. And right now, it just seems like as soon as it hits the fourth quarter, as soon as it hits a tight game, we go into this sort of like, I need to go ISO ball, need to go bully ball, need to go drive to the hoop, take this like contested step back, sidestep jumper. And really, I think Jason Tatum needs to play a lot better, man. 7 for 20 is not going to cut it. 25 points in today's NBA is like scoring 15 to 18 points, like in the 2000s. And he needs to be a guy that averages almost 30 a game, 30 something a game, in order for us to be really competitive. Yeah. And right now, I'm calling out Tatum at this point, because I am getting frustrated with the sort of non-ball movement, sort of chemistry that I think this team desperately needs in order to continue to get us further along in the playoffs, to get us further along in any type of sort of situation. And I'm so sick of, the Brad Stevens experiments not working out. And to me, this is one where, like you said, I think Brad Stevens, I think he needs to go, man. I think his time's
Oh yeah.
done. I think that he should just have taken the Indiana job and just be a college coach, because I think he is a good college coach, and I think he does have great plays and great execution. I just feel like that's more of his role than really being like a general manager or anybody in the
Honestly,
front
Bernie,
office.
honestly, sorry to cut you off, but I think I think Brad's a great head coach. I think he couldn't take control of the new type of Jays, how they were, if that makes sense, of how Brown developed, because in 2018, 2017, or before when Isaiah Thomas was there, he was one of the best coaches in the league. But when you got two superstars who don't listen really, who are kind of
Yeah,
divas like, because if you notice on the bench, they don't really communicate. They can go on a 10-0 run, Tatum and hurry up and shake everybody's hands and just run to the bench and be isolated.
yeah,
Same with Jaylen Brown. Like, they're not communicative. The only time they were communicative was when Marcus Morris was there, before Jaylen Brown and him burned their bridge. Um, you know, and
yeah,
I just think this team's not really connected, man. I'm seeing it with body language. They're not really connected. Like, they're not really like the Warriors. They're not like Phoenix.
mm-hmm.
They're not like that. Everybody knows Ma is Jason's cheerleader.
Yeah,
Even he loves Jason. Oh, bully ball, da, da, da. When he was taking a video with him and Katie at I think it was in the summertime when they were out there in Tokyo or whatever.
yeah.
So I just think he's not really invested into the whole team. I think he's going to get fired. I give it probably one more season and they're going to let him go. Brad's going to be gone. The only reason why Brad's there is because, they owe him so much money on the books. They don't
Yeah,
just want him sitting at home or going to college and still collecting that money and he's getting another check. So I think they just, off of loyalty, Brad probably just, they probably said, Brad, take this role. Brad probably felt like, man, you gave me a chance. I was about to go work at Applebee's again. You know what I'm saying? So he kind of just did it off of, love, but I think he's done after this year.
Yeah, I mean, I would be too. Like, I just think, like, at this point, when I look at the stats of everybody, when I see like the shooting percentages of some of our guys, again, I'm just left wondering, like, what's really going on right now in Boston. It just seems like there's such a discombobulation of like,
Pyramids.
of just kind of like any sort of like accountability for any of these guys. I mean, if you look at our schedule the last couple of days, 2 losses in a row right now. Actually, no, sorry, not 2 losses. We won against Cleveland, lost against Philadelphia, and we lost tonight against Milwaukee. It just seems like, we're getting W's, but there's so many L's like in a streak. Like we had here from December 7th all the way to December 10th, we had a 3-game losing streak. And then we go win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. And now we took another loss tonight. And at this point, I'm just left kind of wondering like what the next move is for us, other than like making some trades, making some big time investments. But at the same time, I don't know if I can trust Brad Stevens to do the job. And I think that we're going to need to start looking for that point guard that, we desperately needed. Someone that's defensively a great guy, but also a guy that can move the ball. And I just think we need a guy that is able to kind of get everybody the rock instead of looking for his own shot, which I feel like Dennis Schroeder does a lot of times, is looking for his own. And, obviously you have Tatum and Brown kind of looking for their own. And you have Marcus Smart, who to me is not really a true point guard. I think maybe a guy like Ricky Rubio could be another good addition if we do make that trade with Cleveland. I think that Ricky Rubio would be a great addition, but Cleveland's on such a hot streak right now that I don't know if they would be willing to give up those guys. But, I think what is kind of interesting to continue to monitor and kind of to look at is just kind of the stats for the season, man. I mean, like we look at our shooting percentages or just scoring in general. We're in the mid pack of this sort of situation with 108.4. And again, middle of the pack isn't going to get us a championship. And if we look at kind of our shooting percentages, I believe we're kind of near the bottom at 22 out of 30 teams at 44.6. Meanwhile, you have other teams shooting at a very high clip. And that just goes to show you that we're taking way too many contested jumpers, way too many sidestep jumpers, and way too much shots that are not good, I would say, in rhythm shots. It just seems like there's so much discombobulated, and we can look at many other types of 3-point shots. Even we're at 33.3%. That's not good compared to these other teams that are shooting at like at least 37, 35 plus, which is what I think we need to shoot at in order to be like a really good team. We can even look at effective field goal percentage. We're near the bottom at 21. Like we gotta step up in that category. Otherwise, we're gonna continue to be a bottom tier team. And I think it starts with the upper management, and also starts with the coach as well, to kind of get us going again and start playing Celtics basketball like we once did back in the early 2000s, or I should say the mid to late 2010, early 2000s, with that, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and even back in the 80s where the ball was moving, things were going. Because right now it just seems like everything's just so stagnant.
Yeah, I just think too, when you have a head coach who's new, you can have great players, but you also have to have a head coach that the players can listen to.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't have a system where they can play in, we see it with the Lakers. Like, it doesn't matter. They're talking about firing Frank Vogel, and he just won a championship. Like, it doesn't matter if we would have got Lonzo Ball, in my opinion. We still would have been in the same situation because MA and his coaching staff doesn't have a lot of experience. They never really were. None of them were head coaches before.
Mm-hmm.
They have no experience. Brad has no experience. Like, it's the formula for rebuild. If you really look at it, it's the formula for rebuild. Why would you get a new head coach and you got two guys in their prime? You got good pieces, Marcus Smart, Time Lord. Like, it makes no sense. Then you're hiring Brad for an experiment, but we really know what it is because you owe him money on the books. And then you hire a guy who doesn't have any experience. It sounds like to me you're trying to tank, and you're trying to just experiment, man. Because if you got two corner superstars, why would you get a head coach? Wow, like the only thing I could think of is they wanted to get a guy. Maybe they thought if he was a minority, black, but that's not gonna work, man. Like, we all know, like, it doesn't matter about that. It doesn't matter. It matters about will your players buy into your system. He has no system. He was saying, I have a defensive system. What defensive system has he coached besides Pop in San Antonio when he was under Brett Brown? That wasn't his system. That was Brett and Pops.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I think we kind of leave here disappointed and frustrated as Boston Celtics fans, as Lakers fans, to kind of continue to look at these Christmas Day matchups and just continue to get frustrated. I'm looking at the stats, from team rankings, and looking at what the assist to turnover ratio is, and if we're 17 in the 30 teams, that's not good at all. And we'll see what happens, man. I think that this is going to be a fun. I would say fun in terms of a crapshoot where I don't know what our team is going to be in the next couple months. All I know is that if we continue down this path, I think we're going to, be a lottery team. And like I said, we're just going to be a play-in team game, play-in team type of organization. And that's just not going to cut it for us to really, proceed to go to get that next championship, which, if I'm one of these players, that's what I'm dreaming about. That's what I'm trying to get. But it just doesn't seem like that's the priority for some of these guys.
I mean, there's still time. I mean, we're only 5 games, or 7 games from first now. But, I mean, there's still some time, but it has to start now.
Yeah.
They can't just waste all of January and say, hey, or, the last week of January, let's trade for a guy, even though we're, 20 and 27 or something like that. Like,
exactly.
It might be too late. I think they have to start looking at guys now. Because there's still, the Hornets are 1 game above, 6 or 16-16.
Yeah.
If they get a solid piece like Sabonis and maybe like a Kevin Love or something like that. Like they can climb the fourth easily, and get on a streak, but it has to be quickly.
Yeah.
It can't be weeks from now. It has to be like within the next week and a half. And
Yeah.
I don't think Brad's willing to do something like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think we're kind of screwed. We'll probably get enough, we'll probably get a push maybe, and we can get in the playoff game, but the playing game, I should say. But as far as like getting to a conference championship,
Yeah.
not putting too much stock into it.
Yeah. So let us know in the comment section down below, Celtics fans and anybody that is a Celtics supporter. What do you make of the Boston Celtics at this current point? Are you in agreement with both Tyrese and I that this is kind of over? That, we're lucky if we're going to even, make a playing game? Or do you guys have the belief and mindset that the Celtics can turn this around and really kind of continue to carry this organization to new and higher standards? Because right now, like we talked about, it's not looking too hot. Especially with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, really, kind of disappointing in their Christmas Day game against the Milwaukee Bucks. But again, you do have to give credit to Giannis for going on a huge streak and kind of creating the opportunities for those guys to kind of or for his team to really get the W. But like I said, let us know in the comment section down below. What do you make of the Boston Celtics? I think the last topic we'll kind of talk about, Tyrese, and then we'll kind of call it here, is the NBA again attempting to add an in-season tournament to the calendar. And I'll kind of read the story, and then we'll kind of get into it, Tyrese. So this article coming from Adrian Wojnarowski says the NBA has found traction on a future in-season tournament. The league and union are discussing a structure that includes a December pool play, pre-Christmas quarterfinals, semifinal, and finals with a $1 million per player payout for the winning team. Shams reported in September that the league had picked up the discussions again. Adam Silver is a proponent of the idea, but lacked the votes in the past. Silver is said to model the concept of European soccer tournaments such as the FA Cup, but those differ from the league's proposal in a number of key ways, such as being open to clubs from multiple levels, in addition to the fact domestic leagues do not have a playoff to determine the champion. And I'll kind of get into that a little bit, Tyrese, before you get going with what you're going to say about it. So for people that are not familiar with English Premier League soccer, the way that you crown a champion in that league is by a point, by points. So you play, I believe, 38, 36 games, and the most wins, or like the amount of points that you get, means that you're the champion. So it's easier to kind of do a tournament in that manner because you don't have there's not like a playoff already intact. And I just feel like the model that they're trying to go for is the FA Cup. And it's just like another additional trophy to the Premier League, where you're just adding another English trophy that other teams in the lower divisions can compete and get. Now, what I will say, and what I would be interested in, is if G League teams could be added to this in-season tournament. I feel like that would be cool, but again, that'd be a lot of like negotiating and bargaining agreements that they would have to deal with. But I think that's the only way that you could really fairly try to put this in, because it doesn't make any sense to me why you would just put all 30 teams in a playoff pool when you could just do that without, you do that with the playoffs. You don't do that with an in-season tournament. But I've talked way too much. Tyrese, what do you make of it?
I think it's a great idea. It would give more teams the opportunity to, showcase what they got, So would it be all teams would be in that competition?
Yeah.
Even the teams that necessarily would be out of the playoff, if it was the traditional route, so they would let's just say the Orlando Magic, they would even have a shot, right?
They would have a shot at this tournament. So I'm assuming they're I don't know how it's going to be how it's going to be portrayed, but I'm assuming all 30 teams would be involved, and it would continue to go on until there was a final 2 teams. And so, if a team,
the only thing is though of it probably not passing the board level, and why it hasn't, is because the durability of the players.
Yeah,
that would be way more games, wouldn't it? Because you would have regular. How would that work? Wait, so you would have regular season, or would it just be 36 games, and then whoever That's how it would be. It wouldn't be 82, right?
Yeah, I'm assuming that they would take away games and have this tournament kind of be its own thing. But, I'm not sure if the players would agree to it, just due to the fact that, there's also NBA records that could also be affected by that. Like, are the games that you play in this tournament going to count towards like your regular season stats? Which then, kind of leads to rewards and incentives. Like, you have to score like, you have to keep your field goal percentage above, 45% for the season. Like, does this tournament help or hurt you if you are doing that? Or like, for example,
I feel like they shouldn't do that. I feel like they should just cut the season in half. If they did do something like that, probably make it 42 games, and then maybe make it like kind of a Sweet 16, like how the college basketball is,
yeah,
where all teams would enter, and one would play, I don't know, 14, two would play 13, three would play, and so on.
yeah,
I think they should do it like that. Um, it would make it very interesting for the teams who normally wouldn't have nothing to play for. Because who knows, right? Like there could be some team, I don't know, the Pacers or the Knicks or something like that. They might get hot, right? And they could make the finals or something. You never know. I think it would be interesting because you always have that Cinderella team.
yeah.
Even though
I,
it's NBA, I think it could transition. But I understand why a lot of people in the board on the board shoot that down.
yeah.
Um,
I think if the owners want it, I think that they're gonna get it. Just due to the
I
fact that,
think so too. I think they just lose a lot of revenue and money because it's so short. Because if you think about it, an 82 game season, then you got all the playoffs. They're playing like 100 and some games, which means more money for them, right? So
yeah,
I think if you only make it like 30 odd so games or something like that, or 40 games, like they're cutting their money in half, their revenue in half. So I think that's why they keep shooting it down because they're losing a lot of money. Um,
yeah.
yeah, it's
I,
interesting though. I would like the idea, but I think just from a financial aspect, uh, a lot of teams and owners wouldn't want that just because it cuts into their money, their budget or whatever they got going on.
Yeah, but I feel like they'd find a way to like add it on top of the 82 games. I know this league, I know these organizations, not just basketball, but football, the European soccer, which they just talked about in this article. I just think that it's such a money opportunity for all these organizations and teams to like make the money back from the pandemic. I feel like this is the reason why they're doing this tournament. I just feel like, and I know there's many other ways to make your money back from the pandemic, but I just think that they cannot afford to have another kind of situation and season like they did previous years or the previous last 2 years where revenue sales are down, ticket sales are down, merchandise sales are down, and they just really want to get a lot more people in the seats. And what way to do that? By providing extra games for people that, normally maybe might not even go to an NBA game, but if you add some sort of prize or sort of a trophy at the end of it, I feel like that would entice more people to like really, to be honest with you,
Yeah,
overpay for these tickets. And I think that that's kind of what the NBA is looking for is how do we make our money back from this pandemic because we lost a ton of revenue. And when they lose revenue like that, it doesn't affect them more so in the future, or it doesn't affect them in the current moment, but it does affect them in the future. Because I think it's a trickle down thing when it comes to not making the money that you needed to during the pandemic season.
yeah, I understand what you're saying. I just think it sounds very good and like like yeah, if I'm an owner, right, like I would want that. I lost a lot, but you also have to think about the players in the NBA PA
Yeah.
because a lot of those guys are the ones who are having to say so. Chris Paul, Jalen Brown, a lot of these other guys, LeBron James, they don't
Hmm.
want to play no. That sounds like some X Games type stuff. They want traditional. So it's kind of like what the superstars want, in my opinion. Like the owners of the team are gonna talk to the real stars of the league: Curry, KD, LeBron, Chris Paul, Jalen Brown, NBA PA, other members. And if they want it, if they get a unanimous vote and say, "Hey, we want this," but if you got guys who are like 7-3 and saying they don't want this, I think they're not going to roll with it, especially if it's the top dogs. I think owners really don't have a say so because the players are the ones who are the product. So if they don't want that, they're not going to vote for it and say I want it
Yeah. I mean,
because
at the
that's the product on the court.
I think I agree with you to some extent, but at the same time, I think the owners have saw this like player empowerment movement, and I think, to be honest with you, I think these owners want to be like the NFL owners. They want to have more of the power. They want to kind of continue to like work on creating their revenue, their generational wealth. Like I think these owners like realize how much money they lost. I feel like
Yeah.
during this empowerment movement. And I don't necessarily agree with the owners in this aspect, but I think if the owners are really trying to what's in the best interest of the team and what's the best interest of the whole association, I think the thing that they would say is like, we need to have these in season tournaments, we need to have more ways to make revenue. And that's the reason why the NFL added a 17th game and got approved, even though I don't think it was necessarily the right call. It's because I think the owners have the power, and I think at the end of the day, the owners are going to try to get back that power. Because they don't want another Ben Simmons situation, and not to like point this like, oh, this is all Ben Simmons' fault, but I think
Yeah.
I do think the Ben Simmons situation really soured a lot of owners from like what's going on, and want to put a clause in their contracts and put a clause in the PA, to kind of be like, hey, we want to make sure this doesn't happen again. And I think I think this is kind of one of those like macho, I would say machismo moves, where it's like, oh, well, you don't want to do this, well, fine, we'll create this in season tournament so you guys will have to play. I really think that's what this
Yeah,
is.
but Bernie, if they do that, the players would strike. You like the NBA players in today's age, with everything we've seen with Black Lives Matter, the power is in the players. If they do something like that, they're just not going to play. If they have no say in what they want to do, they're just not going to play. It's that simple. I mean, we know who really runs the league. It's the top guys: KD, Stephen Curry, LeBron James. They say we don't like what these owners are doing with this, how they have this
Mm.
going, then they're not going to do it. The owners really don't really have a lot of say so like that, man. Like, you see what's going on with the Phoenix Suns owner, and how the players are calling him out and trying to get him fired by the NBA
Yeah.
commissioners. So I just think the CEOs don't. It's a little bit different than NFL, right? Because the NFL, it's always had that, we own you. It's always been like that. But the
Yeah.
NBA, the last, I would say, since the Donald Sterling thing, and then the thing with the Phoenix Suns owner, the script has kind of flipped on the NBA now. It's kind of like the players have control, in my opinion. Like, if the NBA PA and the superstars say we don't want this,
Hmm.
they're not going to do it, because they're the ones who are making them the money and the revenue, right? Because they don't want them to say, I don't like what they don't want any rumors coming out. They don't want anything coming out. So I just think it's a great idea. I just think it's really slim of happening, just because they're changing the infrastructure of the NBA too much. Like, there was a lot of complaining about, I think it was Jason Tatum on his interview. He was saying, like, I don't like the playing game. Like, you could be a 10th seed and get to the playoffs,
Yeah.
and you can be a 6th seed and get knocked out or something like that by him, which is true. So I think if you got young guys saying that, I couldn't imagine what LeBron and Stephen Curry, because they were in that position last year. I just think a lot of NBA players didn't like that. They probably like more the traditional, just because it feels like, you kind of earn it. Because if you're a
Yeah.
10th seed, like, you can just get there by being hot at the end of the year somehow, right? And then
Yeah.
you win a game, or we win 2 games, and you're in. It's like, damn, like, we worked really hard to get to that 8th seed, and it
Yeah.
doesn't mean nothing.
Yeah. I mean, I think
So
at the end,
I just
the only thing I was
yeah,
gonna
I
say
just
is, as at like the end of the day, I think these owners want to make the most money that they can. And I think the playing game is one where they looked at it and said, like, we can really make some good money out of this for teams that are in the 10th seed. I think that they're really about getting their bread up. And I think that's really what these owners are really about. Players are the same way with their contract salaries, so I'm not going to like hate on anybody trying to get their bread up, but I think that
yeah.
this is what we're really kind of seeing in today's market, and really in today's like sports, is that sports be damned at this point. It's all about making money. And I think that the owners are trying to find each and every way that they can to make the most money that they can, to really, like I said, recover from the pandemic, do all these different types of things. And I think the playing game is, or this in-season tournament is something that they're going to look at, and I think they're going to really try to convince the players. And again, you may be right that the players may not want it, but at the end of the day, I think I think the owners will compromise, and I think they will continue to like bombard the players with this until they get the right group of guys in there that might say, hey, we should probably do this tournament. And I think that's the way sports works now in today's. They may have the lockouts, they may go on strike, but I think that at the end of the day, money rules all when it comes to players and owners, and I think that whatever's going to make them the most money, whatever's going to make them continue this sort of like, it seems like these contracts keep going up and up and up, and then at some point these contracts have to crash a little bit, and they can't continue to go
it's just
up.
The TV deals are hot. The TV deals are hot. So just imagine too with this pandemic, there was more people home, so
yeah,
there's going to be more people. This pandemic we're probably not coming out of this pandemic and probably truly until 2024, 2025 realistically, to where it's completely back to normal and there's no more variants.
Yeah.
So the TV deals and these contracts are just going to keep going through the roof because people are going to be home watching, which means more viewership, which means more revenues with these TV deal companies and third parties. So it's going to come crashing down, but I think it's going to be a few years from now until, the pandemic is completely behind us. But I just think, a lot of these players, they have a lot of say so now. It's not like how it was in the 90s or the early 2000s or mid 2000s. Like we seen that, like, with the kneeling, with the national anthem and everything like that. Like, who would have ever thought we would see NBA players doing that?
Yeah.
And they, the commissioner's behind it. He's behind the decision. So it's a little bit different than the NFL. Roger Goodell to me is way different than Adam Silver. And a lot of the owners in the NFL are different than, I'll say 85 to 90% of the NBA owners.
Yeah.
But I just think they're going to listen to the players because it's less players on each team than the NFL, right? So they only have maybe 15, 18 guys realistically.
Probably like 18, probably 15, with three guys
15,
not suiting up.
Throw in G League, maybe another 15, but those guys don't really count. So,
yeah.
But in the NFL, they have 90 guys probably on a roster.
53, and then they probably have 15 guys that are on the practice squad.
Yeah, practice squad, and so it's just smaller grouping too, and when you have a bigger grouping, it's more or less say so. When you have a smaller grouping, it's kind of more you listen. It's kind of then it's just the superstar too with these big franchises.
Yeah,
like the Lakers, a lot of these franchises are going to listen to their players, like the Raptors, the Lakers, the Brooklyn Nets, the Heat. I just think it sounds good. I would like that, but I just think the players aren't going to want that. They're going to want traditional.
Yeah.
But who knows? It could hurt. It could help with their durability too because it's less games,
Yeah, and we'll find out, what the owners and, Adam Silver and the players will decide, because I do think that this is going to be a topic that continues to rear its ugly head and will continue to kind of be a forefront for Adam Silver, because I think Adam Silver is behind this. So I think he's, as someone that is a players commissioner, I think he's really going to try to get the players to buy into this playing game. But we'll or this in-season tournament. But we'll find out later on, if they are able to come to an agreement, or if it's still going to be one of those just a no from the players. But let us know in the comment section down below, what do you guys make of this whole NBA trying to add another in-season tournament? Do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? Let us know in the comment section down below. But with that being said, Tyrese, I think I'm going to call it here for the stream. Do you have anything else to say before we kind of sign out of here?
No, I don't have anything else to say. That was a good show, though. By the way, yeah. Yeah,
I mean, always a pleasure to have you on, man. I know that it's Christmas. I don't want to keep you on too late as well. Kind of do your thing, whatever you need to do before
Okay.
before everything gets going for the next couple days, and then I got coaching again, so we'll find out what the streaming schedule will look like. But like I said, thank you, Tyrese, for coming on to this Christmas special of The Charge, giving the latest NBA news and rumors, and also basketball opinions, with the emphasis on basketball opinions, because today we talked about 2 opinions that we had about the LA Lakers and the Boston Celtics, both of them receiving a lump of coal for Christmas in the form of an L. But with that being said, thank you once again for joining us here on The Charge, giving the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. Please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Remember, there is a donation link in the live chat. I think there's one in the description as well. Again, none of this stuff you have to do. This is just here if you mess with the channel. We also have merchandise as well: mug, t-shirts, sweatshirts, whatever you're into. Whatever you're into, whatever you can support with this channel, that's much appreciated, much obliged. But anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie. Thank you again, Tyrese, for coming on the show, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace out, everybody.